BJ O'Neill here with the Business Coaching Success Podcast. So glad you're here, where I share with you strategies, tools, and tips to be able to grow your business coaching practice to six figures and beyond as a Christian business coach. Let's jump in. All right, we're going to jump into part 2 of the 6 areas that you need to focus on in 2024 as a Christian business coach. BJ O'Neill here with Business Coach Mastery. Glad that you are listening. Before we jump in, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube, it'd mean the world to me if you would like and subscribe. It's very simple. It helps others discover and find the message, the one that you are interested into as well. So you can be a part of the community, be a part of the tribe, and simply subscribe. And, if I can ever be of value to you, but love to, you can reach out and let me know. There's links, there's email addresses, there's different ways that you can do that. Maybe you are thinking about and considering creating a business coaching practice. Maybe you have one, you're stuck, you don't know how to grow it. Maybe you've thought about this for years, but you don't have the tools and resources, and you just want to learn more and understand what we do in giving Christian men a done-for-you six-figure business coaching practice. If you'd like to talk about that and what that means and how it could work for you, we have a simple conversation. Maybe you got this podcast via email. You can reply back to that, and there might be a link somewhere to do that. Or you can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com, and there's some resources there in a way that you can schedule some time to talk about it with myself or someone on my team. Focus. Last night we held our weekly group mastermind call with all of our coaches. We have 50 plus, about 55 or so coaches scattered across the country and growing rapidly. We hope by the end of 2024, we are somewhere approaching the 100-member mark is a goal we have. But with that, last night on our call, we discussed focus, specifically focused on 2024. Now, if you haven't listened to part 1, you need to do that. This is part 2 of 6 areas to focus your efforts, your energy, your time in 2024. You definitely want to get part 1, that is foundations. I am going to touch on a few things that we talked about, just in case you haven't, if you haven't listened to that. But you're going to need to, and then we're going to have part 3 as well. So it's a 3-part series because there's just enough content here in order to really help you think about the areas that you need to focus on, and the 6 that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to dive into those pillars in this episode. The part 1 episode was all about the foundations and things to think about, and here's why. It's you can't just go and run after the tactics without talking about the foundations. And I know it's an overly simplistic view, but you think about building a home. You're not going to do the necessary foundational things that needs to be done, mainly building a foundation. But even beyond building a foundation, there's things that you have to do to excavate correctly, to level the ground, whatever, before you ever begin to put 1 2x4 or stud up in the air at all. And building any type of anything in life, but certainly building a business and certainly building a business coaching practice, you must have foundations. Go listen to part 1. It will help you tremendously. Okay. But the bigger part of that, again, is all about you can't just go out and go do things without thinking through a set of strategies first before you begin to do anything. So go listen to that one. I think it's going to help you in a big way. So here is pillar number 1, and that is discipline. So we talk about areas of focus. We talk about building the business. We talk about building relationships and adding value. We talk about using assessments to be able to show a business owner how we can, help them grow their business. We talk about, a step-by-step approach to guiding them through multiple strategies to show them how we can continue to make small adjustments with a compound effort. That's what, making small adjustments look like in a step-by-step manner. But regardless of what you do, the size of clients that you have, you're going to have to enjoy and understand the place of discipline. And it's discipline all along the journey. Discipline says the needed areas that you need to build relationships. There's basically 3 areas you want to focus on in building a business, a business coaching business. That's Where am I spending time in lead acquisition and client acquisition? How am I going to convert them? How am I going to coach them? Those are 3 pillars, if you will, of coaching. But inside of that, you begin to break them down. So when I'm looking at, building relationships, what are the disciplines that I need to follow through in order to achieve success? You have to have, as you build those plans, as you build your frameworks, as you kind of build your persona, we call it even an attractive character. It's how people are going to interact with you. What are the disciplines? It's the discipline of follow-up. It's the discipline of reaching out more times than you thought that you're going to have to reach out. It's the discipline of learning to test into what's working and understanding that just because you go do something one time, if it doesn't work, it doesn't mean it doesn't work. You have to have the discipline to see it through to make solid decisions. Okay, we have one of our coaches. He made a comment on our call last night. He's very active with consistent workshops. We have a workshop and approach, or a workshop in a box kind of approach to helping coaches, those who want to conduct workshops. And he said, I think I've determined that I'm doing too many of them. It's just difficult to keep up with the whole process. Here's the discipline, though, that he played out. He did enough of them every single week. He's done it for months upon months. Every week, he's had a workshop where he's invited business owners to be a part of. But through that discipline, he's discovered what's really working for him and what's not working for him. That's what discipline really is. Discipline is, I've made my plan, I'm going to follow through. Discipline says, I'm going to continue to see something to the end, and rather than just ignoring the painful stuff, I either adjust, I either do it some more because I understand that even though I don't like it, it's what's working. But that's what discipline really is. It's about it's about managing your time correctly. That's what discipline is. It's about understanding your money generating activities. That's what discipline is. It's like understanding the value of a routine and following it. Discipline is, and here's a simple one. Discipline is, I'm going to get out of the bed. I need to go work out, but I do not want to at all. But discipline understands, but I know the value of what that time, that 45 minutes or so time is going to bring. And I'm more focused about the yield, in other words, the result I'm going to get, than the I don't like part. Discipline says I'm not going to focus on the I don't like part. I'm going to focus on what I know that I don't like part drives. Hope that makes sense. Discipline says, from a spiritual perspective, as a believer, as a Christ follower, it's the daily application of reading Scripture and applying it to my everyday life. So discipline is understanding that it's a constant warrior-like quest on the things that I know I need to do. And I'm going to be disciplined. There is, and I've said this many times, and no knock against Alex Harmozy, but he made a comment recently on, making your bed has nothing to do with success, because there's a lot of conversation out there about how, those who make their beds shows a much more improved opportunity for being successful in life. He's like, that's absolutely hogwash. He uses a different term, but I call it hogwash. However, I think he missed this one because no, making your bed has nothing to do with building a business. What making your bed does, though, is that it's building discipline and routine in your life to get up and do something that you may not really like to do, but you enjoy the benefit. That's really the bigger part. And so when you build that discipline in your life, it's going to help you build other disciplines in your life, right? And so I don't think that anybody needs to help explain that living a cluttered-free life is a much more advantageous opportunity of living. It just is. You can go study it if you want to, and that's what making the bed contributes to. And so I think it's just helping us build discipline in our life. So I digress. The point is, you need to fall in love with discipline. Discipline's not bad. Discipline says, today I don't feel like doing this, but I know I need to. I'm going to do it anyways. Discipline says it's raining outside. I don't feel good. I'm going to do it anyway. Discipline understands that my activity level is connected to my North Star, my goals, my results. And you're like, oh my gosh, please don't say the word discipline again. But my question to you, do you feel like you embrace discipline in your life? And then if you don't, then great. The good news is you understand there's opportunity here. And those who do, and those who follow through, you stand a greater chance of success than others that don't. Pillar number 2 is consistency. There's no value in doing anything one time. That's just, you get what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to go, and attempt to build some relationships and you go to one networking event, if you're going to build some relationships and you're going to do one workshop, if you're going to build some relationships and you're going to reach out to some of the folks that you know to maybe, access their sphere of influence, you do it one time. If you're going to read a book and you're not going to, read the whole thing, if you're going to go through a course to learn how to do X, Y, and Z and you don't finish the course, lack of consistency is part of the reason why people don't see success. And that goes back to discipline, having the disciplinary actions and attitude and aptitude and desire to be consistent with what's required. So if I'm a big believer in the 30% rule. And if you're attempting to, set 5 meetings next week, you have to have the discipline to follow a plan, the consistency to completely do it correctly. And at that point, if you're going to call 30 people today, if you're going to email, text, whatever it's going to be, it's the consistency to then also do it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. You've heard a lot of people talk about weight loss, right? We hear that right now in the first of the year. It's always a big conversation. Well, you don't lose 50 pounds in one fell swoop. You typically lose what? 1 pound at a time. Some faster than others, but it's still 1 pound at a time. In order to do that, though, it's going to require consistency to be nutritious with your intake, with your exercise, and so on and so on. Building the business is the exact same way. Every day, you've got to be consistent with the level of activities that, quite frankly, may be boring to you, but the purpose isn't to embrace just the I don't like to do that. It's I'm consistent with my discipline plan because I understand the outcomes. That's what consistency drives. Consistency drives and by the way, when you're more consistent with individuals and they feel it, they sense it, you follow up, you're on time, you've got great follow through, that's building trust. Trust is a bedrock of relationships, period. And are you going to have challenges? Yes. Understanding that discipline, in inviting discipline and consistency into your life does not mean that you're going to eradicate challenges. If anything, you might even be more in tune to challenges because you're going to have things that just push against your flow. There will be plenty of, the car broke down, the flat tires, the spilt coffees, they didn't call you back, they said no. You go to a workshop and the HDMI cable doesn't work. There's going to be a number of level of challenges because that's just life. Consistency is I get up and I do it anyway. Consistency is I just do it again. I don't worry about it. Too many people are overly focused on everything that did, can, and will go wrong. But if you want to be ultra successful, the top 3% of business coaches, you have to embrace consistency. The third one for this episode, the third pillar, you've got discipline, you've got consistency, and then you have a plan. And that plan must be flexible. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to go and change it all the time. It means just like my example of my friend who was doing the workshops, he was disciplined, he was consistent, he followed a plan of doing the workshops. Through that plan's flexible that he begins to now realize what's really working and what's not working. And that's the beautiful part about following the plan, being consistent with your plan, being disciplined to follow it correctly so that you can make really wise, sound decisions. Very important. Very important. And so we build that plan for several different ways. The big one, especially if you're in the beginning stages of building a business coaching business, you're building relationships. There's basically 8 areas in totality that a coach is ever going to use to build relationships, building their coaching practice. You have to choose which one works for you. Again, whether if you're working through your sphere of influence, your connections, or if it's workshops or networking or joint ventures or whatever. Buying lists, doing social media, paid ads, that kind of thing. But regardless of which one you choose, you have to begin to build the plan. And just for context, in my friend's example with the workshops, that plan was I'm going to do one per week for 90 plus days and see kind of where we are. That's a plan. Plan says that I'm going to work through my sphere of influence. I'm going to send X amount of emails. That plan means my goal is I want to have 5 clients in the next 6 months. Whatever those numbers are, we write them down. And we begin to truly follow the plan, understanding that there's parts of the plan that I don't know yet, that I don't understand yet, but I understand that by following it, I'm going to get answers that I could adjust. Now, I'm a big 90-day guy. I'm a very simple man at the end of the day, and my life can work in 90 days. So when you're following a plan, so if I'm following a plan, this is what I want to see for the year. As I told you, our goal for our coaching network is to have close to or right at 100 coaches by the end of 2024. So we will build out the activity needed in order to do that in 4 different quadrants. That's the quarters of the year. And so we will have activities and different things that we're going to do for 90 days. And then at the end of the 90 days, we see where we are. We make adjustments for the next cycle. Some call it sprints, quadrants, call it whatever you want. It's irrelevant. The point is, you want to have a plan. So make your annual plan, break it down into 4s, follow it for every 90 days, and adjust. Right? And then, and I mentioned this in the first episode, in part 1. The value of setting stretch goals. And many people don't want to do that because they feel that it's too painful when they set that kind of plan. They set stretch goals in their plan, but they fall well short of it. And so the question really is, and I'm just making numbers up for the fun of it. If you feel like having 10 clients is a stretch goal for you, and you're like, I don't think I can probably do that, and you set that goal to be 6 instead. The bigger question is, which goal do you want to fall short on? 10 or 6? Because most people misunderstand goal setting, at least in my opinion. Sure, we want to reach those goals, but the goals should be driving you and growing you to what you really want to do and accomplish. And so it's not a terrible thing to only get 90%, 80% of your goals sometimes. So when you set a stretch goal and you make those goals a part of your activities, your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly activities, and you're 80% of your 10, in other words, you're a lot closer to 10 than you were to 6, that's a win. That's a big win. So you want to have a plan. All right. Threw a lot at you in this episode. We want to try to keep them in bite-sized pieces if we can. We're going to wrap it up on the part 3 with the next and final 3 pillars. But prayerfully, you're beginning to get the idea. And I do want to, since it's the first of the year, that's when these episodes are being recorded at the end of 23, beginning of 2024. Obviously, all these principles apply all the time. But the question is, do you have clarity? If you're starting out right now, do you have clarity on your business goals for 2024? Or if you're listening to this in the middle of the year, do you have clarity on your activities to make it the rest of the year? Clarity is clarity no matter what time of the year. Do you have clarity on your plan? And if you don't, then the good news is that means you've got a lot of opportunity to get clear on what your actions and your activities need to be every single day. All right? Hope that added value to you today. Again, if you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to chat, go to businesscoachmastery.com and you'll be some places there you can connect and we'll go from there. All right? Until next time, take care.